Okay guys, we are going to map out the first part of the story. So the first thing I want us to do is to do a little map of the first part. So we're going to start with our main character, so that's our dog. We don't have to be artists, so let's do a little quick picture of our dog Scruff. There's his nose, other ear, oh, eyes. And we know he's a stray, he doesn't have any owners. So I'm going to do a picture of a collar, and I'm going to do, because all the other dogs have got a collar with a little thing on, haven't they? And I'm going to put a cross through it because he's a stray, he doesn't have an owner. So I'm going to write the word stray to remind myself. I'm going to give you a word bank for later on, so that will help you. Okay, and we know he loves digging, so I'm going to do a hole, and I'm going to write digging, because I know he loves digging. Okay, now the first thing he does is, if you remember in the story, he comes across some other dogs and their owners. So we came across Mrs. Fancy Pants, didn't we? So let's write Mrs. Fancy Pants, Mrs. Fancy Pants. Now, none of them particularly like Scruff, because Scruff loves digging and they've taught their dogs not to do some naughty things. So I'm going to put Mrs. Fancy Pants flowers, because she says, stop digging in my flower bed. Okay, and then he goes and he meets Mr. Fusspot, and he's really particular about his lawn, so that's his grass, and that's Mr. Fusspot. And he says, get off my lawn. And then he goes and he sees, I'm going to do a flower pot for this person, Mr. Green Fingers. Let's see if Miss Langley can do a quick flower pot. And that's Mr. Green Fingers. And Mr. Green Fingers says, oh, not you again. And then he's fed up with all of that. He wants to go to a friendlier place. So off he goes. Oh, sorry, I nearly missed a person out then. He goes to see Mrs. Hoity Toity with her dog. Mrs. Hoity Toity. And she says, shoo, shoo, go away. And he gets really fed up with that, doesn't he, guys? So then he goes to try and find a friendlier place. So he goes off and he goes through the fields. Let's just double check that in our book. We can go back and look. You guys can play the video of the story again. Miss Langley's going to flip back a minute. So he goes way beyond the fields. So I'm going to do some fields just to remind me. Miss Langley's got very square fields. They're not always like that, are they? That will just remind me. Remember, they don't have to be perfect. So that's the fields that I wanted. I might write the word fields to remind me. And then he goes through the woods. So I'll do a tree. And that will remind me of that part of the story. Woods. And then he goes over the distant hills. So he's going a long way. So I'll put some hills, and I'm going to write the word hills. And then when he gets there, he smells a really awesome smell. Do you remember that part? So I'm going to do a little picture of him and his nose again. So let's just do triangle ears. Picture of him and his little nose, because he's sniffing and he's quite happy because he can smell this awesome smell. I might even write the word awesome. Awesome smell. Okay, guys. I want you to map out the first part of the story up to where he smells the awesome smell. And then what I'd like you to do, once you've done that, because that will help you remember the order of the story. Once you've done that, I'd like you to just write in sentences a bit of a recount of the first part of the story. Now, I'm going to give you a word bank to help you with some of these words, things that some of the grown-ups say, their names and some of the bits and pieces. And I'd like you to write those in sentences, try to remember your punctuation, so capital letters and full stops. And then tomorrow for our English work, guys, we're going to look at the next part of the story, okay? Because it gets a little bit more exciting. Okay?